She was only 3 days old when her birth parents left her outside in the cold night air. Born in China and abandoned at the very start of her life, her future could have ended there. But fate had other plans. A couple from the United States crossed an ocean to adopt her, and over the next 20 years, raised her with unwavering love, cherishing her as their own. While Katie was growing up in happiness and security, halfway across the world, her birth parents never stopped searching. They asked questions, chased every possible lead, even appeared on national television, all for the chance to find the daughter they had once let go. Their reunion, decades in the making, would bring two families face to face, one built on unconditional love, the other bound by blood. Katie was born in 1995 in Hangzhou, near Shanghai. Her Chinese name was Xu Jingji, and she was the second daughter in her family. At that time, China's one-child policy was strictly enforced. Having more than one child could mean heavy fines and even the loss of a job. When Katie's mother found out she was pregnant again, she was already 5 months along. The couple considered terminating the pregnancy several times, but each time they headed to the hospital, the baby would suddenly kick, as if pleading with them to hold on. Moved by those moments, they ultimately couldn't go through with it. Instead, they invited a midwife to their home and delivered the baby in secret. After the baby was born, her parents didn't have the courage to raise her, but they couldn't abandon her completely either. They wrote a letter, carefully explaining the circumstances of her birth, and placed it in her blanket. They hoped that someone kind would find her and give her a chance at life.
那他没有口睡着了，当时我轻轻地吻了他一下，我知道这是最后的告别了，然后我走了。
At the end of the letter, they left a heartfelt promise. If fate ever brought them back together, they would wait at the broken bridge in Hangzhou on a special day. Known in China as the Qixi Festival, sometimes called Chinese Valentine's Day, a holiday about love and reunion. They signed it simply, "Your Heartbroken Parents." That night, they gently laid their baby daughter at the corner of a vegetable market and walked away. Soon after, a passerby discovered the infant and took her to a nearby orphanage. Katie spent the first year of her life in a local orphanage. Then, on August 17, 1996, a couple from Michigan made the long journey to China, hoping to adopt a child. Among the many children, their eyes were drawn to a quiet little girl with calm features and a pair of clear, gentle eyes. Something about her touched their hearts. Without hesitation, they decided she was the one. Wanting to give her the best chance to thrive in her new home, they gave her a new name, Katie. It meant purity, beauty, and hope, and carried all their dreams for her future. From that moment on, Katie became part of a loving American family, beginning a life that would be completely different from the one she was born into. From a young age, Katie knew she was different. In a community where nearly everyone was white, she stood out. Her straight black hair, almond-shaped eyes, and the way she looked simply didn't match those around her. She didn't look like her parents or her classmates, but as a child, she didn't yet know how to make sense of it. It wasn't until she turned 10 that the questions grew louder inside her. One day, she sat down with her parents and asked where she really came from, and they didn't hesitate. They told her the truth. Katie had been adopted from China as a baby. They believed she had the right to know her story. And for Katie, that honesty didn't scare her. It helped her begin to understand who she was. No matter where her journey began, she knew she had always been deeply loved. Years passed, and Katie grew into a kind, confident young woman. By the time she turned 20, she no longer felt confused about where she came from. Instead, she had learned to accept and embrace it. Her adoptive parents knew this moment would come, and when it did, they supported her without hesitation. After a long and thoughtful conversation, they told her, "If you feel ready, you can go." So Katie made the decision to return to China to follow the path laid out in the letter her birth parents had written so long ago. On the day of the Qixi festival, she would go to the broken bridge in Hangzhou, just as they had once promised. On the evening of the Qixi festival, China's version of Valentine's Day, Katie made her way to the broken bridge in Hangzhou just as the letter had described. Her birth parents were already there, waiting, scanning every face that passed by. And then, through the crowd, they saw her. After 20 years apart, their little girl had returned. The moment her birth mother laid eyes on Katie, tears streamed down her face. She reached out and held Katie's hand tightly, like she was afraid to ever let go again. Over and over, she whispered the name she had buried deep in her heart, Jingji. In that instant, it felt like time had turned back. She felt like that same mother again, the one who had gently placed her baby down on that cold night, then walked away in tears. This was not just a reunion, it was a long-delayed embrace. Katie followed her birth parents back to their home in Hangzhou. The moment she stepped through the door, her father lit the fireworks and firecrackers he had prepared days earlier. It was their simple, yet grand way of saying, "Welcome home." Her mother had spent hours in the kitchen cooking a full table of homemade dishes. Her older sister sat beside her, smiling nervously, placing food into Katie's bowl while sneaking glances at the sister she hadn't seen in 2 decades. The house was filled with celebration, but also with a quiet tension. There was a language barrier, and beneath the joy there was uncertainty. After all, they had given her up 20 years ago. No one quite knew how to act. Her father gently lifted food to her mouth with his chopsticks, trying to bridge the gap, hoping this small gesture could ease the guilt he carried. The next day, Katie's birth parents took her to the very place where they had once left her behind. The surroundings looked almost the same, but for them, it was a place heavy with memories and pain. Standing at the corner where it all happened, her father quietly shared the story, how desperate and broken they had been that night. Her mother stood silently by his side, tears running down her cheeks as she wiped them away with the back of her hand.
Yeah, hearing what they kind of had to say to me and how much they cared. From my perspective, I understand their situation.
Katie listened without judgment. Her eyes showed not anger, but understanding. She knew now they didn't abandon her out of cruelty, but because they had no other choice. She hadn't come to hold them accountable. She just wanted answers. She wanted to know why, and to see the faces that brought her into the world. Now she had both. Her heart felt at peace. There was nothing left unresolved. Later that evening, Katie sat at her laptop and made a call, one that meant even more to her. On the other side of the screen were her adoptive parents in Michigan. Though they were thousands of miles apart, the moment the call connected, tears filled their eyes.
And we haven't lost anything today.
Happy that she's come to this point. I just hope there's a sense of peace and contentment with her.
Her birth parents poured out their emotions, thanking them again and again for raising Katie, for loving her, for giving her everything they couldn't. And her adoptive parents listened, eyes shining with pride as they heard the calm, steady voice of their daughter. To Katie, these were not just adoptive parents. They were her real parents, the ones who had been there every step of the way. There was no rivalry, no jealousy, just 2 families bound by something far greater than biology. Fate had brought them together, and love had made them whole.